love history. Did your wife keep her maiden name?
Man, I tried to call you. Did you change your number?
What you wearing? You smell good. Thank you. Muchos thank you.
MLB.com's Anthony Castrovince has a mighty pen with us this morning as we visit with Anthony post-Thanksgiving holiday after an article that he's put up on MLB.com that is sure to generate some conversation, suggesting a bonkers trade, not for one or two teams, but for a lot of teams. Hey, you might be onto something here, Anthony. Good morning.
Good morning. I guarantee you I am not onto something, but this is what I do. Every November, I try to solve the JFK murder mystery, and I try to come up with fake trades.
Well, you've got us talking about this.
A lot of
well
folks
played
talking
by
about
you.
JFK nowadays, too.
Let me hit you.
Right.
I don't want to get off on that tangent here, but let me hit you with one of the suggestions you made for a bonkers trade. And again, I know you do some of this tongue-in-cheek, but some of it does make kind of weird baseball sense. What if the Blue Jays and the Mets get together for this massive deal? Talk. What do we got? Wow.
Look at that. But that's fun just to look at, right? So, I mean, the last we saw Vlad Guerrero Jr. is getting picked off second base in the playoffs. And I remember thinking, like, are they going to trade this guy? Because they have 2 years left to control of Vlad Guerrero due to the Blue Jays. He's getting pretty expensive. And I would say he's kind of fallen short of expectations. I think that's pretty fair to say. He can be an electric player, but you take away the 2021 MVP runner-up year, which, let's face it, I mean, more than half their home games were played in Dunedin and Buffalo that year, so he definitely had some extraordinary home numbers. Aside from that, Vlad's been, he's been better than average, but not the MVP type we expect of him. So, is a change of scenery in order, and what would you want back for him? Well, in this case, you would be giving back a year of Pete Alonso. They make roughly the same, the contracts will be roughly the same for 2024. The Mets get that extra year of Guerrero. In exchange, the Blue Jays get some control, flexibility with Jeff McNeil. He's coming off a down year, but, a guy who can play multiple positions. He would fill that Whit Merrifield role as he's a free agent for Toronto. He'd bring them some more lineup balance. And they get rid of Alek Manoah. And the Mets can be the team to try to put Alek Manoah back together.
You really gave some good thought to this, man. I love this.
I'm trying.
I love it. I think Vlad'd be a star in New York.
That's more than just a wild hair. That just makes a lot of sense for the reasons that you lay out. All right, so that one plays. What if the Phillies and Angels got together? Look, we know about Mike Trout's background as a, South Jersey guy, grew up in the Philly market. The Angels said during the year that, if Mike would be open to it, we'd explore those conversations. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think any of that's just gonna happen, but here's a what if.
Yeah, this is absolutely not going to happen. But I want Mike Trout in Philly, as do many people in Philly, I would imagine. Mike Trout's, the trade conversation is pretty much null and void, I think. Surplus value is the key phrase when it comes to trades. It's what you're worth above and beyond what you're being paid. And Mike Trout is no longer a provider of surplus value. He's going to make $37 million for the next 7 years. That takes him to age 39. He's had trouble staying on the field, 237 games over the last 3 seasons. So the surplus value is just not there. So how do you make a trade? If you make a trade, you have to take on a bad contract. Nick Castellanos was a playoff hero for the Phillies in the division series, but overall it still qualifies as a bad contract currently. He's been about league average bat in his time with Philadelphia. He's making $60 million over the next 3 years. So you take back that contract, you give the Phillies some cash. I was thinking around $50-60 million. No big deal, chump change. And you get a prospect back, a good one, Justin Crawford, 17th overall pick in the 2022 draft, son of Carl Crawford, of course. I don't know. I'm just trying to make something happen that would never happen. But, I mean, that's basically what it would look like, is you'd have to take back a bad contract, probably give some money on top of that if you're going to get legitimate young talent back for the Angels. It's a really hard trade to orchestrate.
Fake news.
Yeah, no, I think it's
and by the way, Mike Trout would have to agree to it, by the way.
Right.
But that's why I sent him to Philly. I mean, he'd agree to Philly, right? Could you imagine Bryce Harper and Mike Trout in the same lineup? Our 2012 dreams coming true.
That'd be fun.
No doubt. It's a marketing dream come true for the Phillies, too. Let's move on to one that might be a little closer to real. The Dodgers and the Brewers get together here. Look, I kind of shudder to think as to what the Brewers are going to look like if they pare down all their talent. But Gavin Lux is a Wisconsin kid, Here's another one that makes a little sense here, Anthony.
Well, this is what we do every winter. We try to get guys back home, back to their hometown. So I'm bringing the Kenosha boy, back to Wisconsin there with Gavin Lux. And, all these trades, I'm doing major leaguers for major leaguers pretty much. I'm not interested. I find it boring prospect for big leaguer trades. So we're trying to make something interesting. Now, what would the Brewers want back for Burns and Adames? Would they be thinking longer term? It's very well possible they would. I mean, Lux and Sheehan, you got, a good amount of contractual control there, but would they want to go like full prospect, like long-term, big prospect haul, guys that help them years down the road? I'm not sure. I mean, the Brewers certainly seem like they're heading into some kind of state of transition. How big that transition will be remains to be seen. But, Burns and Adames to LA makes a lot of sense. Shoring up shortstop with something a little more established in Adames. Lux coming back from a major knee injury is kind of a question mark for that team that's clearly in win now mode. And, Burns, what you're getting there. You're getting a Cy Young type pitcher, which is, the Dodgers could use some health and pedigree in their rotation. So, I think those teams match up. It's just I don't know what Milwaukee would actually want back. Would they want immediate major league help like Sheehan and Lux could provide, or would they want something longer term?
Yeah, they're going to want more than that. They're on the short end of the stick of that deal. I mean, you got two major guys that are going to produce right now.
So I want to say, so I get crushed for these every year. I'll get crushed for this, and MLB Network's Twitter will run screen caps, and they'll say, who's the idiot who came up with this? And that's me.
Yeah.
But I did run these through baseballtradevalues.com, an interesting website where you can kind of concoct trades, just to see if I'm totally crazy. And according to that site, I'm not completely crazy. These are not half-baked ideas. These are like 60% baked.
This is it's a dangerous exercise.
If I was a writer, I'd be dangerous.
You know that. Two more of these, and I want to skip over one. I want to get to the Tigers-Red Sox idea because it's simple.
Yeah.
It's just a 1-for-1. Walk us through what you got.
Well, I mean, literally the only reason I would do this is because both of these contracts have been a disaster. They were signed at the same time, the same offseason. Trevor Story has barely played. I think he's missed more than 60% of the Red Sox games since he signed that contract. Javi Baez has been a disaster at the plate, still a terrific defender. And the only reason I did this trade is because they line up well, where Story's owed $100 million over the next 4 years. Baez is owed $98 million in that same span.
I like the deal.
Let's just flip the contracts. Let's do the change of scenery. As I wrote in the piece, when you're in a bad relationship, anybody else looks good. That's my analysis on this one.
Oh my God.
I have no astute baseball analysis to offer. The Red Sox, I mean, would potentially be upgrading at shortstop. They were a horrendous defensive team last year, and Baez is a terrific defender. Now, Story makes them better defensively, but, his arm strength has waned, and he's coming off, elbow surgery. So I don't know. Maybe it can make sense.
I'm tempted to take us out on that great line of yours that you just unloaded on us, but I do want to get to the most complicated suggestion of all.
Now, there's only one more.
Yes, right.
There is only one more.
One more, and we're saving this for the grand finale. The Astros, Yankees, Orioles, and White Sox in a very complicated four-way
Let me
mess.
study this board.
Man, this is where you need that new 77-inch TV you bought on Black Friday to fit this all on your screen. So the genesis here was Galaxy Brain thought of, what if the Astros traded Alex Bregman? He's a year away from free agency. He's making $30 million. They're probably not going to be able to sign both him and Altuve. What if they try to get something back from him now because their farm system is rated 30th out of 30 teams by MLB Pipeline, just for the record. So you'd want someone back who can play right now at third base, right? Well, that's Jordan Westburg of the Orioles, but they don't match up in a trade. All right, so let's get the Yankees involved. They could use Bregman, right? So let's send them Bregman. Let's use Westburg, and just for fun, let's get another team involved. Let's get the Orioles involved the White Sox involved because the Orioles need an ace-type arm, and that's Dylan Cease. So a lot of pieces going all over the place here. Astros fans seem particularly annoyed with this trade. They don't like the idea of getting a prospect back for Bregman, Myers, and Arrighetti, who's their number 3 prospect. But I would fight back at that. I would say Bregman, $30 million for a 5-WAR player. So surplus value, but not a ton. It's just 1 year. Myers, he's been hurt a bunch. Yeah, he's a good defender, has not hit at the big league level. And Arrighetti is the number 3 prospect, and as I said, the 30th system in baseball. So I think actually Westburg would be a pretty nice piece for them long term. You have long-term control of him. He was terrific for the Orioles in a short stint last season. The Orioles get Dylan Cease. They're giving up Westburg. They have the infield depth to do that. They're giving up another prospect in Basallo to the White Sox. That's their number 5 prospect. The White Sox are getting back Jason Dominguez, the Martian, from the Yankees. The Yankees are getting some outfield depth. They're getting a pitching piece in Schuster. They're getting Alex Bregman for a year. They can then re-sign him. I think everybody is equally miserable with this trade, and that's the sign of a good compromise. As Henry Clay would say, all parties must be equally happy and unhappy. I think mostly unhappy in this case.
You've thought it through, and the White Sox get 2 paisans.
You like Italians, baby?
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
That's kind of the sleepy headline there. Interesting stuff, man.
Wow.
Just real quickly, you've already heard from fans that have read the article on MLB.com expressing their pleasure or displeasure.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been doing this for years now, and I've learned to tweet out the story. In this case, I just apologized right off the bat. I said, I'm sorry for this. And then the first replies start to come in, and then I mute it, and I don't read them anymore because it's not serving anybody good to get mad at me for my fake trades.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to be creative if you listened to everybody.
All in the spirit of fun, everybody.
Right.
Anthony Castrovince's pen is mightier today. Thanks, Anthony.